It's a wild through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringer, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and we are back on a Wednesday. It's unusual, isn't it? No emergency podcast this time. Wednesday's normally emergency podcast day when some random news breaks, but no, we're going to go through the retained list. We've got the pre-season prediction reveal tomorrow, so to make sure we don't miss out on this talk, I thought I'd come a day early. Have a quick 20-30 minutes about who has abandoned, who we have abandoned, and who is still with us for the time being. We've retained Victor Johansson. Not really. Right. We'll go through that. Mick, I know you're buzzing to be part of this episode. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, I can't tell you, mate. So giddy. Let's get going. Come on.
Danny's back. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually quite excited to discuss who we've let go, to be fair.
Well, I think the retained list and release list has made some people very, very happy. Maybe some less so, as we'll find out in the next half an hour or so. Steve Grundy and Alfie and Chava with us. As is Paula Rhodes, Mark Gamble, Darren Cook. Nathan Crabtree says, "Hi all, come on Oxford." Get behind that. Harry says, "Mick is thrilled 2 days in a row." Yeah, he's buzzing. If Mick thought that season's over, we'll see less of each other. But no.
It's not.
Mark Gamble's a show reviewing a list. Woo. This is what football content does. Jamie says, "Evening, everybody. It was lovely to meet Mick at the allotment today."
Even Jamie.
No.
Joe? I'll just say hello to Jamie again for the second time.
Again,
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife's got me watering stuff, so.
You what, sorry?
My wife's got me watering stuff while she's away.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's talk about who has gone, because there's a big list of them. There's obviously the players that have gone and the players that have been made available for immediate transfer, which we'll come on to in a minute, which sounds more dramatic than it probably is. The list of players that have departed officially are Cafu, Curtis DeRose, Grant Hall, Joel Holvey, Lee Peltier, Nat Ford, Sam Clucas, Sean Morrison, Shane Ferguson, Slagy Bowler, who we already knew about, and Tyler Blackett. Let's start with this kind of shock. Well, for me, there's two kind of surprises in that, but Sam Clucas, Danny, is the one that we would all have been very happy to see a contract offer put forward to him. And I dare say, if Liam Richardson was still here, there would have been a contract offer, and there's a decent chance he might have stayed.
Yeah, definitely. I think out of the list, Clucas is the only one we would have liked to have seen stay. You know, everybody else on that list is, you can say, yeah, fair enough, I agree with that. But with Clucas, you sort of, you get it, but you also get it if he was to stay at the same time. I think he would have added a different element in midfield, but I also think it speaks more of what Steve Evans wants to do next season. A few are on the list are just injury prone, so that's why they'll have not re-signed. Clucas sort of fits in that category a little bit.
Yeah.
But it also, to me, says that Evans wants a more dynamic midfield of potentially younger players, and he wants to lower the average team age quite significantly, because I think our average is 27-ish.
Is that all?
27, 28-ish, but it was at the top end. Like, we were in like the top three oldest average squad age in the division. So we might want to bring that down to around 24, potentially, young, hungry players. And unfortunately, it's not going to be Sam Clucas, unfortunately.
No. And Alfie says, believe it or not, he is 34 as well. So he's not a youngster. He's not necessarily even in the prime of his career. He's at the back end of it. Would you have offered him a deal, Nick? If, again, put you in Steve Evans' shoes.
It's a difficult one. It's one that I'm on the fence about. Yes, some days yes, some days no. And I think the reality of it is, given injuries And as Alfie's pointed out there, his age, nah, probably.
Yeah.
If you're being ruthless, no. He may have been offered one and turned it down, of course. So who knows? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it doesn't say not offered if the player's out of contract and subsequently leaving. So it doesn't necessarily mean we haven't already had conversations and he said no, he's not interested.
No.
Yeah. Mark Gamble says, yep, injury prone Mercs, silly. Yeah. To be fair, Lucas, since Lee Wisher came in, was available quite a lot until the Swansea game. And obviously he's not been available for Steve Evans at all. Another one that kind of surprised me, Danny, was Sean Morrison. He's been available for as expected. I don't think he's been more or less injured this season than I probably expected. He's probably been about what we expect. And I just felt in League One, if you can get some younger bodies around him, which we're going to do, I thought that experience would have been brilliant. And I also think Sean Morrison in a Steve Evans team who like set pieces, he got 10, 15 goals in League One. That could have been, I'm surprised, that could have been match made in heaven in League One.
Yeah, possibly. I think out of the whole list, like I said about offering them another year and they've said no, I think Sean Morrison probably is the one who said no, and that's like the more obvious one, I think. Because like you say, I think Steve Evans would have liked him. He's very much a commanding presence at the back and has the experience there. All right, he's been a little bit injury prone whilst he's with us, but like you say, he always made himself available, and when he was fit and ready to go, he always put in a lot of effort. I think he managed towards 30 appearances this season. I think it's just touching 30 in all competitions for Sean Morrison this season, which excuse me, to say the massive injury he had before coming to us and he made 2 appearances last season. It's been quite good going for him, but for me, out of everybody, he's the one that screams he said no to a new contract and maybe wants to stay in the Championship, which I'm sure he'll be able to do. Or it might say, he's touching towards the other end of his career, which I think is also the one with Lee Peltier. He's at the wrong end of where Steve Evans wants his age range to be. And unfortunately, he's had to be shown the door. But I would have liked Morrison to have stayed because, like you said, he would have been colossal in League One. But I suppose we'll have to find the younger players who are colossal in League One, potentially Cameron Humphreys.
Possibly, yeah. 30 appearances in all competitions. Phil asked how many starts. I think the vast majority of them were starts. You've got in Ipswich, which would have been a substitute appearance, Plymouth, which would have been a substitute appearance, and Hull. So 3 substitute appearances out of 30 games. Yeah, I'd have liked to have kept Sean Morrison, but they don't pay me the money to make the decisions, do they? So, well, it's not sadly. It's probably a good idea, to be honest. Mick Cafu, the one that promised so much and so much, and even into September, even after that Norwich game, we're all sort of thinking, bloody hell, this is it. We've got him. We've got a player who's got that X factor. He can do something special. He can do something different. And he just petered out into the stereotype.
Yeah, he offered nothing, did he? But on the flip side of that, neither did anybody else.
No, he's not on his own, is he?
And if he's clearly a player, he's a bit of a luxury player, as Kev said previously, and had we been sort of playing reasonably well, or even, sort of, I don't know, 8th, 9th from bottom, he would have been a different player altogether. But it's just not worked. So we move on. Happy days. That's the end of that, isn't it? So I'm not surprised in any way that he's on that list. Tyler Blackett, on the other hand, I would have liked to have kept him. Very disappointed with that. Whether he's been offered a new deal or not and turned it down, I wouldn't be surprised. But it depends where he is on his injury cycle as well, doesn't it? But I'm maybe he just don't want to sign an injured player. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm disappointed that Tyler Blackett's gone.
Yeah, I wonder how bad the hamstring injury was. Obviously, the original hamstring injury sounds as bad as it could possibly be. And then he came back for a game. Was he on the bench for one game? And then did the other hamstring. He falls into the category for me, Danny, that of Grant Hall, that if they were available, it would be a no-brainer to offer a contract to. But that availability has just absolutely done them in, completely done them in. And you've got to wonder where both of those players' next moves are. Who's going to take a risk on those kind of players, especially at championship level?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Blackett might be one of the players that's drops down to League One with us, but with just a new club. Grant Hall, maybe one of the teams coming up from League One takes a punt on him because he's got the championship experience. But with Grant Hall, he's only made a handful of appearances in both spells he's been here, both on loan and as a permanent player. So I completely get Grant Hall moving on because, injury concern. And maybe that's the case with Tyler Blackett. Maybe Evans has looked and assessed the squad that we've got. And he's been more keen on players who are under contract, obviously, but also the players who are, up and ready to go, sort of thing. And every player on this list, bar the youth players, in my opinion, fits into the category of they're not completely up and ready to go, even over the summer. They still have rehabilitation to do over the summer with certain injuries, which might limit pre-season, whereas the rest of the squads, bar Andre Green, are more up and ready to go as soon as Evan needs them to be.
Yeah, so Grant Hall's played 31 times out of a possible 92 league games over 2 seasons.
He's made a class, isn't he?
That was the banker, though, weren't it, Mick? In terms of the release, that it was the banker, weren't it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's absolutely right, the right decision to let him go. And Sean Morrison, for me, neither of them have done enough in a Rotherham shirt to come. I mean, clearly they've got fantastic careers behind them. That's not in doubt. But neither of them have done enough in a Rotherham United shirt for me to say, yeah, we'll hang on to him, we'll keep him. So, other than Tyler Blackett, as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with who's gone. No problem.
Yeah. Alfie says Grant Hall is a strange one. Who is the physio? Who is the team physio going to talk to now?
Hire him back as assistant physio.
Yeah, I like it. Nathan Coventry says it's too big a risk. We're referring to Grant Hall. John Morell says no matter the look, Blackett will end up at the Blues to top of a great season. He'd be brilliant in League One. You'd love him in League One. Be great. Tom Kay says it looks like we're trying to lower the age of the team. I can't think of one player we had last season who was under the age of 25, excluding loans. I think Victor started the season under 25, didn't he?
And Cam did as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, I think those two did, yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, but he went, didn't he? Or was
Kelly was 27, 28, Kelly.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah. So Nathan Codry was talking about Blackett. Applies to both, to be fair. At any level. Shane Ferguson, Mick, and this is a real shame because I like Shane Ferguson, and I think in League One he will do a good job for somebody.
Yeah,
but I think the thing for Shane Ferguson is not necessarily the injuries. I think once he's over this current injury, I think he'll be fine. I just don't think he fits into Steve Evans' type of team. He likes quick and aggressive kind of players, and Shane Ferguson's got a wonderful left foot, but that's kind of it from an attacking point of view.
Yeah, and age again. So yeah, and obviously we don't know the extent of this injury and whether it's likely to reoccur. So now, as Nathan said about Tyler Blackett, maybe too much of a risk. So gone. It's a shame. He's been a great servant for the club, but look, we're moving on. We've got to move on. So and there's definitely a bit of a sort of out with the old kind of vibe to this, isn't there? You know, you look at that retained list, and it's reasonably young, with the exception of a couple of exceptions in there. Yeah, I know what you
mean. Lee Peltier's gone, Danny. We suspect that's down to retirement, although he said to Paul Davis that he hasn't officially retired. He's kind of waiting for deals. He asked Paul Davis if a deal was offered, he would be stupid to turn it down straight away. So is this just an age-cutting thing for Lee Peltier? Because again, if you said to me you got Lee Peltier in League One next year, I'd say that's a good sign. That's a solid, very, very solid, senior pro to have.
Yeah, but I don't
He's
think
not injured. He's never injured his pelts.
No, and I think he's the only anomaly. Well, one of the few anomalies where he's always available, but he's just at the wrong end of the age spectrum. It feels a little bit like the Richard Wood situation last year, where we all know he'd still do a job and it'd be quality to to have him in the squad. But at the same time, he's just at the wrong end. If he were 5 years younger, then I'd have thought we'd have kept him. But if he were 5 years younger, he wouldn't be a Rotherham United player. That's the catch-22 of that. But yeah, we Peltier. I think if a deal gets offered, say in League Two or the National League, Chesterfield, for example, I think it'd be a perfect fit for Peltier. But again, it fits into the narrative that it's lowering the age of the squads, and he's making room for a young, hungry centre back, backup right back, whatever. And unfortunately, Peltier, I think, could be more on the bench than he would in the starting 11. But yeah, you're right. It's a great shame Peltier's gone. He stepped up when we needed him as joint caretaker manager with Woody. And it is a shame to see him go because he served the club well without too much of a real emotional attachment to us. So I just hope his career goes well for the rest of it. I don't think it'll be the end of Peltier in professional football, but it's just the end for him with us, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I would have loved to see Pelts next year. I know we're trying to bring the average age down. I get that. But you've got a guy whose availability is pretty good. And there's not many people that with the know-how in professional football than Lee Peltier is there. There's just not that many out there. And we found this last season, Nick, when you lose somebody like Woody, and I think Peltier kind of falls in that similar mould, quite difficult to replace. There's not another Lee Peltier knocking around with that kind of experience that's necessarily readily available. And I know we're trying to bring the average age down, but is there a point where you think, well, maybe one of those would have been good to keep around?
Yeah, but you're not going to replace him, are you? So, and Steve Evans clearly looking at who he has retained. It'll be interesting to see who he brings in. He doesn't appear to be looking particularly at experience, with the exception of Jordan Hugill on that list. There's not maybe Tom Eaves, arguably. There's not masses of experience. Maybe that's what Steve Evans wants. Not too much back chatting changing room. Then is there? I suppose.
True.
That's a cynical way of looking at it. Obviously, it also means that it gives you the opportunity to bring some players in and mould them to the way that you want them. So, he's clearly looking to, like you said, reduce the age of the squad. But I like, you're looking at the people that he has retained. There's some quality in there, some real quality. Andre Green. We've not seen anything of Andre Green, obviously, because of the bad injury he's got. He's going to be, if he gets fit, he's going to be pretty deadly at League One level. Cameron Humphreys is an absolute Rolls Royce. We've talked about Christ Tahi. I think will excel at that level as well, as will Bramall. So there are some decent names on there. Axe will just excel wherever you put him.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is there are only 10 players on that list in reality.
Yeah, there is. Come on, Pill to mention Curtis DeRose has left, Joel Holvey and Nat Ford. A shame for all three of us. DeRose was talked by Paul Warne, I think Matt Taylor, very highly of as kind of maybe not the next big thing, but a bright spark, one of the bright sparks that came out of the academy, which is a shame. But I think he did very well at Scarborough, I think. So I'm sure he'll find himself a contract. At what level of football remains to be seen, but I'm sure DeRose will find himself a contract somewhere. Let's hope he... Nat Ford, we didn't see anything of. Joe Holby saw 1 20-minute period against Wigan, sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that one. Chile says it's okay to go for younger players, but we are very bare at the minute. It's very, very bare at the minute. There's loads of time for the season start, but hopefully Steve Evans doesn't have a scattergun approach this time. Steve Evans we're talking about, of course. No. Look, the way he's talking about transfers has changed. Now, the proof is in the pudding. We all know that. But the way he's talking about it, he basically the other day that he's not the kind of guy who just goes out and gets whatever he wants anymore. It's down to Rob Scott to work out what kind of player, and then down to the finance people to work out the finances. The way he's talking about it compared to where he was 10 years ago is different. So hopefully there is a change. There's no You know, there's no loan market as frequent as there was. So I think that changes things as it was 10 years ago. Let's see what happens. Kelly Forbes brings up a point that says Stevens will have one eye in the Championship, so in 2 years' time, when he puts his squad together, hence the old boys run away, which makes a really good point, yeah. If you offer Sean Morrison a 2-year contract and you don't want him in 12 months in the Championship, you kind of stuck with him. So maybe that's an interesting point. Stuart Tomlinson says, I think you're letting sentiment get in the way, lads. Everton has cleared the decks and is building his own team. It's the right decision. None of the departures is a bad decision. Time will tell. Let's wait and see.
Yeah.
All of us here said that getting rid of Richard Wood last year was the right decision. Don't know, that was a wrong decision. So we'll have to wait and see. Mick mentions the players that we've retained, I just say. So Andre Green, Cameron Humphries, Christ Tahi, Cohen Bramwell, Dylan Phillips, Adolphin, Hugo, Rathbone Kyoso, Nombe, Eves, and Victor, although Victor won't be retained for very long. Anything to add on those? They kind of speak for themselves a little bit. We'll maybe cover this as a season, as pre-season comes in. Any surprises that you thought may have put up, anybody of those might have gone for immediate transfer?
I wonder whether some of them may well go still.
Who do you think will go?
Well, it depends whether their offers come in for him, but potentially Hugo.
I think.
You know, if an offer comes in that in the Championship on more money, I'm absolutely positive he'll go.
I think we can go for free. I don't think we'll ask for a fee either.
No.
Wages.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know, there is potential that Peterborough may come in for Kyoso. He may ask to go. Who knows? That's still sort of up in the air at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So that
if those three got us at 9.
Yeah. That slim 10 could well be a slim 8 or 7 at some stage. So yeah, he's going to have some work to do as Rob Scott this summer. It's been interesting. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the discussions between him and Evans. That would be an interesting listen.
Good for people trying to create podcasts, though. The amount of signings we're going to need. That's really, really good.
If only there was somebody trying to do that on behalf of our club.
The two names that came up, which were kind of not a shock, Danny, but a surprise. It's always a surprise when you see publicly people essentially transfer listed. Jamie McCart, who has been on loan at Barnsley all season, and Josh Cody, who has been on loan at Carlisle all season. Let's start with JJ, because this is the one we were all desperate to see a success story. He came through the academy, really highly thought of. We've seen him grow, you know, physically over the season. We've gone on, and it's for one reason or it's just not worked. And he does bring the average age down, so that does surprise me that he's not keeping him. I imagine it's not on much money either.
No, but again, you have to factor in that he's been injured quite heavily, quite regularly over the last couple of seasons, to be fair. And I don't even think Evans has had enough chance to see much of him in League One. So I think that's why JJ's been made available for transfer, because if it's in the same category as Hall and Blackett, he's just too much of a risk. You know, he'll do a brilliant job for somebody, and maybe Carlisle will finally get him on a permanent deal. They've been trying for what feels like the last 100 years to get him permanently, but it's a shame because we were all desperate for him to do well. We were all singing his praises when he finally got his first goal for us against Wimbledon a couple of seasons ago. But it's just not worked out injury-wise for him, and I think that's why he's been transfer listed. I think he would do a very decent job in League One, and factoring him into our front line, that's more or less sorted, other than maybe a new addition if Hugo goes, for example. But yeah, it's just not worked out injury-wise for JJ, which is a shame because he seems a nice lad and seemed like he was desperate to do well, but it's just not worked out. But I do think on the flip side, McCart being made input on the transfer list is down to Evans being able to see him in League One more frequently. And I think out of everybody, McCart would be the one to stay to fill out the squads. I don't think he'd be up the top end for us personally.
Yeah. Maybe. Phil says Cody should be further in his development. That may be something quite well, actually, Phil.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. It's a shame. Mate, look, if he goes, let's hope we put a good sell-on fee like we did with Jerry Yates. And hopefully he becomes a massive success and earns us a bit of money from a sell-on. That's best case scenario right now for us. Alfie says, hang on the scattergun approach, as we mentioned, with Evans signed a few of Rotherham's best players ever. Absolutely did. Couldn't not disagree with you more, but couldn't agree with you more, sorry. But it also signed some absolute tripe in those 3 years. There were some terrible footballers that came to Rotherham.
We have got a bit more structure at the club now than we had at that point as well. And that may fix Evans' sights a little bit. So rather than him using a blunderbuss, it's a bit more of a shotgun approach. So he's just narrowed it a little bit. But yeah, we're still going to have to sign a fair few players. And maybe that's what we need. Maybe we do need the scattergun approach initially. And then we can tweak it in January, potentially.
You mean, look, you're probably going to get 5. You are?
When we're 15th.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're going to get 5 loans. You're going to get 4 or 5 loans. So if you need 15 signings, 4 of them are going to be, at least 4 are going to be non-permanent anyway. So then you're only looking at 10 permanent signings, which is a lot.
It's not much, is it?
Powerman, remember Keller Roos, Danny Collins. Look, Evans signed some garbage, but like Alfie says, signed some of the greats. John Mill, how many players are we looking for this summer? I've said 15. I stand by at least. Now I'd move to at least 15 now.
It's got to be at least 15. You look at what we've got there. Like I said, there are 11 names on that return list, 11 full-time pros on that return list, one of whom is Victor, so that's 10. There are 4, 5, would you call them juniors? I don't know, it's probably a bit unfair now, but people have come up through the lads who have come up through the academy, probably none of whom are ready to play first-team football at league level. So, it's going to be 15 players at least. So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And when we're competing against the likes of Birmingham with John there and against the likes of Wrexham, it's not going to be a straightforward summer. So we'll see.
Yeah. Tom Kirat says, only 7 players on the bench next season, so there's a good chance of being able to fill the bench. Although knowing the EFL will change rules again.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'll put that past them people. We're going to do a couple more minutes on 27 minutes. We'll do a couple more minutes. Jamie Lindsay, Mick, has been offered a new contract. Odd. It's not odd that we're offering a new contract, but that tells me we probably didn't offer a contract to anybody else. Because for me, I thought in my head, Jim Lindsay's gone. He's already at Wrexham or somewhere else. I'm surprised, really.
That's how you read it, isn't it? Jamie Lindsay's been offered another contract. Nobody else has.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd be on the list with Jamie Lindsay.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he has. I think we've seen a loss to him personally. I don't know why. I just do. Just be given the way that the season ended with him, and it was all very, very sort of unclear, weren't it? Is he injured? Isn't he injured? Where is he? Has he turned? He didn't fit right. So I suspect he has his eyes elsewhere. But we've offered him a deal, so that could knock that list back up to 11 with one goalkeeper. So
Yeah. How would you feel would you be buzzing, Danny, if he does sign a new one, or would it just be a kind of it's another body and experienced body?
I'd be quite happy with it if Lindsay was to re-sign, just because I think he'd do well under Steve Evans. He strikes me as a bit of a up and angry sort of player on the football pitch, and he's still at a good age to be highly competitive as well. So I think that's why he's one of the ones we've open discussions with. But I'm just going to be devil's advocate. Maybe Lindsay's the only one in discussions because he's the only one who said, let's see what we can come to agreement on. Maybe he's the only one who entertained the initial thing of we want to offer you a new contract, let's talk about it. And he's the only one that said, yeah. Maybe the ones straight away.
After them all, Danny, he's the only one that could understand what Steve Evans was saying.
Potentially, there's that as well.
And everyone else was telling him to get out the door. Jamie Lindsay knew. He knows. He knows.
And they're both Celtic lads as well. So maybe that's why Evans wants to keep holding him a bit more. And probably why Victor's going to go to Celtic out of everybody.
Is it?
Well, it's a rumbling on Twitter that Celtic are interested. Because one of their goalkeepers, I can't remember which one, is either leaving or retiring or whatever. And
Joe Hart's retiring, isn't he?
Joe Hart's my age.
Yeah. So I think if if it is Joe Hart that's retiring, then they want another young, hungry goalkeeper in.
The
and-
Champions League football for Victor. Now we're talking.
It's just what I've heard that Celtic are a little bit interested. So be prepared for Victor going to Celtic for £1 million and us playing Celtic in pre-season.
I'll take that. They're the kind of club that Victor should, in a nice way possible, should be aiming for. Because that's a huge club, whether you like them or not. They're a huge club, and they're generally a really, really good stepping stone to an even bigger club, and certainly international football as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Playing Champions League football, winning leagues, that'd be a great move for Victor. But anyway, we're not going to talk about Victor today. We'll talk about that when he eventually leaves us. Just to confirm the 5 youth players that are still with us. Ben Hatton's still with us. Hamish Douglas, Jake Hull, and Josh Ayres are still under contract. So those guys haven't been extended. Those who were already under contract. The one that's been extended is Kieran McGuckin, who has had the option to extend his contract. Who again is very highly thought of. The bits that we've seen and we like. He's been on loan in Northern Ireland. Dundalk, is it? Or am I making up? Dundalk.
I think it is, yeah.
He's been unlucky because he should have gone out on loan in September and August time. He's been really, really unlucky that he had to stay with the team, and he's probably learned from it. But he really needs to get senior minutes over that time. So hopefully keep out on loan, whether it's Northern Ireland or elsewhere, and then we can see the very, very best of him.
Is the Irish League still going on?
Summer League, yeah.
Right, that might be why we've extended it a bit as well then.
Well, his loan was only to the end of the English season, though.
Okay.
Initially, anyway. But yeah, that's the retain list covered, I think. Unless there's anything else I've missed, you want to mention from the retained list?
Any other loanees that you fancy having a crack at re-signing?
I don't think any come back. The ones that have been good, i.e., Revan and Rinimoto, will get picked up by Championship clubs. Appiah is now a free agent, but I think he'll get picked up if he's probably got a really, really good agent who got him a really good move to Spain, to be honest. And then Femi Sriki, I wouldn't bet a fiver on whether he's a good player or not, to be honest with you. I just don't know.
We've just not seen enough of him, have we?
No. So then that becomes a massive risk in League One. Because if he was okay in the Championship, he comes in and he says, right, he's okay in the Championship. But the bits we saw him, he started at home against somebody and he just looked lost, didn't he? So I wonder if it's...
I mean, to be fair, our fit squad were lost this season and all that.
That is absolutely true. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We said it'd be a quick episode, so I think we're going to, unless you two have got anything else you want to mention, we'll save the Sky Sports Plus till probably maybe tomorrow, mate, to let you have a look at the details.
I thank you. You mean you're going to give me some homework?
Well, unless you want to, we didn't want to know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
20 live games per season at least.
Woohoo!
EFL Cup. That does include Carabao Cup, Papa John's, Bristol Street Motors. First game of the season and last game of the season are all televised as well, plus all midweek games as well. So it's maybe not as much as it sounds.
I mean, if we do well in Bristol Street Motors, it might end up just being 10 league games for us.
Well, if we do well in that cup and I'm well in the league, it'll be near 30 probably.
We're going to be fighting Wrexham and Birmingham to get on telly, aren't we? So
and Huddersfield as well.
Yeah, that'll be one of the fights we're happy to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Birmingham, Wrexham, you can play every single Friday night you want. That is absolutely fine by us.
Call yours,
for finish on any signings that we want, is there any players that you've seen released by anybody else, or any players you've seen you thought, wow, that kind of clicks quickly, because we're going to do a quick episode.
In terms of, I've not really had much chance to look at retain lists, but I know he's still under contract at Notts County, but what my Macaulay Langstaff. He's been unreal for them this season, so I think if Hugo goes, we should go for him.
We need money for that one.
Josh Vickers. Get Josh Vickers back.
This drum, yeah.
Get Josh Vickers back from Derby. Happy days. I'll be happy with that. Doesn't need anybody else. Then we've got 11 players and Josh Vickers in goal. Job done.
Yeah. Poor
Dylan
Phillips. Poor Dylan Phillips. You've just abandoned him.
No. We need 2 goalkeepers.
3. We need a third choice and all.
Well, there you go. I'll go third choice.
All right, fair
Don't
enough.
leave me.
Harrison Raggett, Sean Raggett's been released by Pompey. I take Sean Raggett back. He brings that experience.
yeah.
He brings that cannonball, wrecking ball. That Richard Wood and Sean Morris would bring in a. He just won the league with Pompey as well. I'd certainly take Sean Raggett back. Certainly this level. Right, we'll knock it out of there, boys, because we're coming back tomorrow. So if you are watching tonight, make sure you are either following us on Twitter, because there's millions of you watching us on Twitter, on X, sorry. And do go over to the YouTube channel. It's in the link in the bio. Go over to the YouTube. Make sure you've subscribed so you get notifications when we are live again on YouTube. We shall be back on Thursday evening. The next 2 episodes are going to be dedicated to looking back at our preseason predictions. And we'll laugh at how really, really bad we are at predicting things and guessing things. Really, really bad. Tomorrow we'll have us 3, Tom and Joy, and then everybody else will be with us on Sunday evening. I say make sure you subscribe, follow everything else. Whatever you're listening, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, X, whatever it is. Please stay with us for the next episode because we're going to be it'll be fun looking at how rubbish we are. Mick, thank you for spending half an hour of your Wednesday evening with us. Go watch Champions League's on now if you want to watch that, or playoffs.
Playoffs are on, aren't they? Come on, wrap it up.
Great. Go on, Oxford. I think we all spot Oxford, and then we all rush over to Alan Swan's Twitter to see him cry about Peter.
Yes. Yeah.
Beaten them at a playoff final place.
Very childish of us, but that's what we're here to be doing. If you're new to this show, this is what it's like. Childish and petty. That's what we do.
I'm awful childish.
And Danny, thank you very much, mate. It's a pleasure as always.
Yep, always a pleasure. I just want to say to Alan Son, if he's watching, Rotherham did the promotion EFL trophy double, but we had to do it automatics, so we've already got one up on you.
If you're really upset, we just go, Peter Kioso don't even like you.
Oh, but what's he doing in Peterborough? Ooh.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Oh, the Millers.
Slides into Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.